1, 2,
3.
Time's running out. Harry's gone. The Mule keeps gaining ground, and the galaxy has no idea how unprepared it really is. While most are still chasing power, only the Second Foundation sees what's coming. The Second Foundation's fight against time. The Second Foundation was supposed to be ready at this point. That was the whole plan. Build it in secret, teach the Mentalics, and stay ahead of the Mule. But this episode makes one thing painfully clear. They never actually solved the one problem that matters most: time. They had the vision. They had the Radiant. They even had Harry Seldon in the flesh. But what they didn't have was time to teach an entire hidden army how to reshape the galaxy before the Mule showed up. So they cheated. They stretched a year into a century, cryo-sleeping, waking up in cycles, teaching in short bursts like a cosmic cram session. But that kind of shortcut only works if the math holds and the math is collapsing. The most human moment in the episode is Harry quietly admitting to Gaal that defeating the Mule won't be enough unless everything lines up exactly. He's not just strategizing, he's holding it together while everything's falling apart. So Gaal goes under. Harry stays up, and by the time she wakes again, everything has aged, broken, or disappeared. The Second Foundation is run by Preem Palver, a mute first speaker who signs more than he speaks. Harry, once the architect of destiny, is just an old man with a few stories left to tell, and even those are laced with dread. But the big twist here is that Gaal was never supposed to be here at all. Not in this role or this timeline. Her survival threw everything off. And yet somehow, she's now at the center of everything. The accidental variable in a plan that's supposed to account for everything. But here's the twist. Gaal was never supposed to be here. Not in this role, and not in this timeline. Everything about her survival threw the plan off course. And yet somehow, she's become the center of it all. The one anomaly no one predicted, and maybe the only person strong enough to fix it. When she finally wakes with no Harry and no more time, the pressure lands all at once, and she says what everyone's been avoiding for too long. The Mule is here. We're out of time. Harry's final goodbye. Harry Seldon has always been the one with the answers, the Radiant, the plan, the math. He doesn't speak in riddles. He speaks in probabilities, and that's why it hits so hard when he lies. Not to an enemy, but to Gaal. He tells her he'll see her tomorrow, but he knows he won't. He's dying, and he chooses not to say goodbye. That one small lie says more about Harry than any lecture on psychohistory ever could. This is a man who spent his life trying to master time. And now that he's out of it, he can't even bring himself to face it. By the time Gaal wakes up again, Harry is gone. But before he disappears, he does something rare for him. He gets honest. The Radiant shows her not just numbers, but fears. The third crisis, the Mule, the Invictus, but most of all, the truth that none of this was supposed to include her. And yet, Harry doesn't treat her like a mistake. He treats her like the only person left who can finish what he started. Because despite all his data, all his predictions, and all his control, Gaal is the only thing in this entire plan that came from chaos, and somehow worked. His final was when he walked through a portal with Kala, back to Unona's world, the place where his digital self became flesh. Not to survive, but to let go. Harry did ask for more time, one more chance, one more way out. But when Kala tells him this was his last chance, and there's nothing else to give, he doesn't argue. He just walks with her through the portal. For once, he doesn't try to fight the end. He lets it happen. The Mule's true power. In Episode 1, the Mule proved his power by wiping out an entire army. But in this episode, he doesn't have to lift a finger. He turns a room full of hardened officers into obedient followers. And that moment comes when he turns a young woman, the archduke's daughter, into a puppet who loves and obeys him. A smile on her face, a gun in her hand, a room full of people watching, and not a single one daring to stop it. The thing is, the Mule is smart, smarter than most people realize. He doesn't want people to fear him. He wants them to love him, because love is stronger. You can scare someone into following orders, sure, but they'll never stop looking for a way out. But if they love you, they'll do anything to make you happy. That's why Skirlet, the archduke's daughter, hesitates when the mule asks her to hand the gun back. She wants to die for him, not out of fear, but because it would please him. That's what makes the mule so dangerous. He doesn't just take control, he makes obedience feel like devotion. This wasn't about the outcome, it was a demonstration. The gun doesn't fire, and it doesn't have to, because the message is already clear: you will all come to love me. It matters that he doesn't use his full power here. He wants everyone in the room to know he could, that he's holding back, that he could take full control at any moment. But he's choosing not to. He's not just after domination. He's after loyalty, real loyalty, even if he has to build it one manipulated mind at a time. And that's what makes him so dangerous. This isn't just conquest, it's a performance. Every planet he takes, every mind he turns, it's all part of the show. The mule knows the galaxy is watching, and he wants them to, because he doesn't just want to rule, he wants to be loved, and he plans to earn that love. One terrifying show at a time. Dusk's desperation, and the weapon that could end everything. Brother Dusk isn't ready to die, and that's exactly why he's dangerous. He has 10 days left before scheduled ascension. But that's the polite word. The reality is termination, disposal, and erasure. And just as the world is collapsing, he's being told to go quietly into the grave like a good old clone. But Dusk is done being polite. He begs Demerzel for more time. She says no. He turns to Brother Day. Still no. So Dusk does what dying men often do when they feel ignored. He builds something monstrous, the Novacula. On paper, it's just a weapon, a black hole bomb. But symbolically, it's everything the Empire refuses to admit, that their time is up and they'll drag everyone else with them. Visually, it might remind you of the Death Star superlaser. But this isn't Star Wars. The Novacula doesn't vaporize its targets. It rearranges them. When it fires, it collapses space into itself. And the planet it targets doesn't explode. It folds. What's left behind is something unrecognizable. A glowing cluster of distorted stars where a world used to be. Dusk calls it a gift to Dawn. And Dawn is told clearly, use it only in extraordinary circumstances. But with the mule rising and panic spreading through every corner of the galaxy, everything is starting to feel extraordinary. This isn't just a last resort. It's a line that, once crossed, doesn't just break history, it rewrites the fabric of reality. Dawn's quiet coup. While Dusk panics and Day spirals, Brother Dawn is doing something that none of the other clones are capable of. Thinking ahead quietly, strategically, and without ego. He doesn't gamble away heirlooms while high on spores, or beg Demerzel to delay death. Instead, he does something radical for someone raised in the palace of genetic certainty. He reaches outside the Empire, and the person he reaches for is Gaal Dornick. It's subtle, and they barely say anything in the final moments of the episode. But when we see that secret device, the one linking Dawn and Gaal, it tells us everything. There's an alliance forming, one that shouldn't exist and wasn't planned, but one that might be the only thing that saves what's left of the galaxy. Because here's the truth. Dawn sees the cracks. He sees the mule rising, the Empire stagnating, the Radiant shifting. He sees the clone dynasty breaking down from the inside, emotionally, politically, even biologically. And unlike Day or Dusk, he doesn't try to delay the inevitable. Instead, he tries to adapt. This isn't about rebellion. Dawn's not staging a coup. He's building a bridge. And if that sounds small, consider this. For a Cleon who's been programmed since birth to believe he is the center of civilization, trusting someone like Gaal is a revolution all on its own. It's unclear what their alliance will look like. Gaal isn't exactly handing him the keys to the second foundation, but something unspoken has shifted. The fight against the mule is no longer siloed between factions. It's converging across Ignis, Kalgan, Trantor, even Terminus. And Dawn's positioning himself not as ruler, but as survivor. Not because he necessarily wants power, but because he finally understands the truth that Day and Dusk keep denying. what the future holds. Everything in this episode, from Harry's quiet exit to the Mule's continued dominance, points to the same truth. The war isn't just coming, it's already here, and nobody's ready for it. The Second Foundation thought they had time. The Empire thought they had control. And the Mule? He just wants love, and will bend entire planets to get it. But beneath all the collapsing systems and psychic weapons, there's one thread holding the story together. Gaal, the anomaly and outlier, the person who was never supposed to make it this far. Now she's the only one left with a clear path forward. The time's up. The plan is broken. Let's see what survives. If you enjoyed this one, check out our breakdown of Episode 1. It lays the groundwork for everything that's happening now. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.